What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here, the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts on the side, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Side Guys, Mr. Tad Sai. And Tad, got ourselves some good games here this weekend. I think the biggest game that I think everybody's going to be looking at is that Washington and Baltimore game, the showdown between Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels. A lot of people are saying Jaden Daniels may not be just the front runner for the rookie offensive player of the year and MVP sort of, but maybe he's in contention for the actual MVP award. Like, what do you think about that? Real quick discussion there.
It's what, week 6? Let's relax here, people. But no, if he keeps this up, 100%, I think he should be in that conversation. But I will again, and I'm not, because I know Jaden Daniels had some, complaints, I think is the right word, of like, don't compare me to Lamar. I'm not Lamar, which is fair. Yeah, let's hold off because I'm gonna make another comparison. Is we were all freaking out about RG3 and we saw how that ended. True. So let's relax a little bit, especially because I have him on my fantasy team. Let's not jinx him, people. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine.
I will counter your point. That's like RG3's career maybe didn't pan out the way that we wanted, but in that 1 year, he looked like otherworldly.
I will admit,
right?
even as a Colts fan, I was like, shit, we should have taken this guy.
So, I mean, just for 1 year, like I said, maybe he's in that conversation. And yeah, like I said, as of right now, he could be the front runner. Although Caleb Williams had a good week last week, he could follow it up with a good week in London against the Jaguars there. So maybe he'll get back into the conversation of offensive rookie of the year. But yeah, as of right now, like Jaden Daniels has been proving all of people that's like, yeah, he was worthy of that number 2 overall pick.
Washington, you listen to me right now. This is not a request. This is demand. You fix that damn field. You fix that damn field right now. I refuse to have my boy tear his leg on that damn field. Don't do it. It's going to start raining soon.
Also, really quick before we get into that episode, I don't know if you saw that report, but apparently there's a rumor going around that Mike Shanahan, who obviously was the coach during the Washington football team at that time, after RG3 had a sensational season in year 1, he told the owner that he wanted to trade RG3 for a boatload of picks. No,
it wasn't Mike
because
Shanahan.
He wanted to start Kirk Cousins.
Whoa, is that the okay? Because I did see that headline. I thought that was Kyle Shanahan.
No. Kyle Shanahan was never the coach in Washington. It was Mike Shanahan.
Wasn't Kyle Shanahan on that offensive staff?
He was on that offensive staff. That's that legendary staff, obviously, with Sean McVay and Mike McDaniel and all those guys.
Oh my God,
for sure. But Mike Shanahan was the head coach, and he said that he's like, yeah, I wanted to. Obviously, that's a rumor. There's nothing been confirmed about that or not, but just it's crazy to think if they were able to actually make that work out. It's like they would have gotten a boatload of picks. They would have gotten Kirk Cousins. Maybe he would have stayed in Washington. I don't know, but just like.
So the headline I read was that, and by the way, I think we saw this story from the same source. Thank you, Chauncey Talese, for sending that in the company Slack. No, so the headline was Shanahan won in multiple first round. I assumed it was Kyle. Kyle was trying to convince the higher ups that he won in multiple first round picks. That makes much more sense now. That was Mike. Wow. That would be crazy. Man, the Commanders could have been like a powerhouse. Dan Snyder could possibly still be the owner if that happened.
Potentially. I mean, obviously the first round picks have to pan out and all that stuff, right? But I mean, just like there's still like a lot of what ifs, right? Like, I mean, that's just crazy to think about.
The magic of Kirk Cousins, baby.
Exactly. So obviously we're talking about Washington. We're talking about that game between them and Baltimore. I think this is the perfect time to bring in our great sponsors at Underdog Fantasy because, I mean, yeah, you could bet on that game. We got 2 Game 5s happening in the MLB Division Series for the playoffs there. We got the Dodgers and the Padres tonight as of recording. And, of course, we got the Guardians and the Tigers going 5. So we got that happening tomorrow. So you can be betting on that. We got the WNBA Finals going on right now. The NBA season will be tipping off in just just a couple weeks. So you can start betting on that.
Let's
obviously, the full college football slate, you can be betting on that as well. So, I mean, guys, there's a ton of things you could get into when it comes to betting with our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. Because, I mean, yeah, right now, if you use our promo code DESAI, DESAI, you could double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500, courtesy of our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. So, I mean, if you were to bet that max amount, $500, using our promo code DESAI, you can get up to $1,000 on their betting platform. You can use the website. It's very easy to use, very user-friendly, as well as their apps, both on Apple and Android devices. Very user-friendly, very easy to use there as well. So, guys, get into the action. A lot of things you can be betting on right now. So have some fun, win some money as we get closer to the holiday season, because you can definitely use some money as that approaches pretty quickly here. So use our promo code DESAI, DESAI. You can double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500, courtesy of our good friends of Underdog Fantasy. And so, Tad, as we usually always do towards the end of the week here, we're getting to our starts and sits here in week 6. Start and sits here in week 6.
Yeah. I was gonna hit you on that, but you caught yourself.
It was weird there. So, yeah, we got some starts and sits for you. But I mean, just to clarify for you guys, just in case you are unaware for some reason, you're just sort of, casually checking your roster, we do have another bye week here. So the teams on a bye week this week are the Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Rams, the Miami Dolphins, and the Minnesota Vikings. All four of those teams are on a bye week.
Every good offense in the NFL is on a bye week. Got it.
You're throwing the Dolphins into there?
Hey, they have that potential.
I have a stat that you'll be surprised when we're talking about the Dolphins offense specifically. But Dad, let's start with the quarterbacks here, because if you have Patrick Mahomes or Matthew Stafford or Sam Darnold, the surprise of the 2024 fantasy season here, they're all in a bye week. So who do you got as a start or a sit this week in their place?
I like Justin Fields. I mean, I know you rolled the dice with him a couple, was that 2 weeks ago? Was it last week?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
2 weeks ago. There you go.
Against your Colts, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, so let's talk about that. So coming off a great performance against the Colts, he did good, not great against the Dallas Cowboys. So it was a very up and down kind of game, right? Like you're like, oh, he has 2 touchdowns. Oh, he only had 55% completion rate. Oh, he had no fumbles. Oh, he only rushed for 27 yards. It was like very up and down with that. But I think you can attribute a lot of that to the fact that, they started the game at 11:30 at night.
It is true. It is
in the pouring rain. And so I think a lot of people are going to look at that and be like, oh, is this where Justin Fields kind of steps back? No, it's not. I think that is a total, I attribute all his struggles to the weather, to the weirdness of that game, to the kind of that flow of it. You got to remember, I know this sounds like I'm some what's your sign? Like that kind of girl, but it's the flow of the game, man. Like it's a flow of game time. Like you're used to a certain schedule. When your schedule gets thrown off, you're just off. It's like when you sleep in for work and you got rush into work and you're just off for the rest of the day. Not that I know anything about that. But point being is, you look at what Justin Fields has done so far this season. He's posted 3 out of 5 games, 15 points or more. And you look at his opponent, he's playing Vegas, which is first off an indoor game. And, Vegas has allowed 3 of the last 5 quarterbacks they faced to go for 15 points or more. And by the way, those only 2 quarterbacks were Deshaun Watson and Justin Herbert in week 1, where he's coming back from an injury. So that Vegas defense isn't so good. Max Crosby is a monster. Don't get me wrong. That man terrifies me and haunts me in my dreams.
Do you know if he's playing in week 6? Is he still hurt?
The latest I saw is he probably, but not definitely.
Because I also got earlier this week, Christian Wilkins is not going to be playing this week.
Christian Wilkins last I saw is Christian Wilkins has been confirmed out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So which further enforces this bad Raiders defense is just going to be worse. So I actually really like Justin Fields. He's good for at least 15 points. And if he gets a rushing touchdown, he may get you above that 20-point mark. So if you're exactly like what you said, with all these high-powered quarterbacks, including Skylar Thompson, on nothing. That was a great joke. That was great. Tyler Huntley, would that have landed better?
Huntley is probably a better one.
Damn it.
Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley.
Pro Bowler. God damn it. Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley. Ridiculous. We so need to fix that. That is an episode we've done before and we'll likely do again. But anyway, point being is with Mahomes on bye week, it's very hard, especially halfway through the season. It's very hard to pick up quarterbacks that you can depend on. And at least in ESPN leagues, Justin Fields is available in roughly 35% of leagues. Not a bad pickup, especially with that rushing attack, like that rushing touchdown ability there. He could get you that valuable 6 points over the valuable, if you're in a standard league, 4 points for a passing touchdown.
Yeah, I think the big thing also is sort of just to give a little bit more support for Justin Fields, maybe that's the best word there, is that Russell Wilson has been confirmed as the QB2 for this game. Like, I mean, there's a lot of debate about when Russell Wilson's ready to go for the Steelers. Like, will he be inserted as a starter? But Justin Fields has been proving that he has been able to lead this offense. Like you said, maybe it's been a little up and down here and there. You could definitely attribute that last game against the Dallas Cowboys as a weather-specific game, so that obviously affected a lot of things as far as both offenses there. But he has proven that's like he's been looking the part, and I think he's got a little bit of a longer leash there in Pittsburgh as the starter until he actually has a catastrophe of a game. Then maybe they'll consider going to Russell Wilson. But yeah, in a sort of beneficial matchup for the Steelers offense against the Las Vegas Raiders, I like him as a good start this week for sure.
All right, so I got to start. Who guys a sit?
So we sort of brought up that Sam Darnold has sort of been the surprise of the 2024 season. I think
speaking of MVPs, by the way.
Yeah, seriously. I think he's in that contention there for sure. But this is another quarterback that I think he could add to that conversation. But I'm going to call him as a sit this week, and that is Baker Mayfield playing the New Orleans Saints this week. Now, this Saints defense, Tad, they've been pretty strong all season long. They've allowed no quarterback in 5 weeks of NFL action. No quarterback has scored more than 13 fantasy points against this defense. New Orleans has allowed only one passing touchdown all season long. Pop quiz, do you think you know who scored that touchdown?
Wait. Repeat that for me. So I almost said Rashid Shaheed, which obviously would not make any sense.
That would not make any sense at all.
That would be impressive, though. He scores against his own team.
This is not the MLB where you can get traded to the same team and play on the other side. This is not the NFL. Doesn't work that way. But the New Orleans has only allowed one passing touchdown all season long. Who do you think scored that touchdown?
See, I was going to say Baker. Didn't Baker? No.
So I want the receiver.
It was Bryce Young.
It was not Bryce Young.
Was it not Bryce Young?
Nope.
Oh, no, because Bryce Young scored that rushing touchdown. Bastard.
Yeah. It was CeeDee Lamb in their week 2 game against the Dallas Cowboys. He's the only one who has scored a touchdown, a receiving touchdown, I guess, specifically against this New Orleans Saints defense. Mayfield is currently your QB3 in PPR fantasy football leagues. Like, that's how good he's been playing this entire season. We saw that shootout that happened last week against the Atlanta Falcons. Like, he looked really good in that game as well. Like, I mean, Kirk Cousins sort of overshadowed how good Baker Mayfield was in that game as well. But, I mean, this guy is still playing very, very well. Only he scored 20 or more fantasy points in 3 of the 5 games that he's played this season. One game he had 18.8. So, I mean, he was close. He was very close to getting 20 in 4 of the games that he had this season. The other game he had 8.5. That was against the Denver Broncos. But I think the key thing here is that when Baker Mayfield throws multiple passing touchdowns, that's how he gets his numbers, and that's how he gets to 20-plus fantasy points. But against a team here in the New Orleans Saints that they've only allowed one passing touchdown or one receiving touchdown, whichever one is sort of calculated that way, all season long, I don't anticipate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers being able to move that much on the air. Maybe there'll be more of a ground attack here because we saw that from Kansas City where they were able to pound it with Kareem Hunt. Carson Steele had some good runs as well. So maybe we'll see a lot of, Alvin Kamara, Bucky Irving and Rachaad White in this game potentially, but Baker Mayfield may be a little bit limited in this game here. He's only thrown for 280 yards in only 2 games this season as well. So he's very touchdown dependent. And I don't think he'll come against the New Orleans Saints this week.
Well, we're not going to see a lot of Rachaad White because he was listed as doubtful.
Okay, good to know.
But I think that's actually why I side on this pick of yours is because that running game is usually kind of like a 2-headed monster, right? Like you don't know where they're coming at you with White or Irving, and Irving is slowly growing into this offense more and more. Like I said, like a couple weeks ago, that's probably going to end up being my biggest draft miss of this entire draft class of I said Bucky Irving sucks. That dude does not suck. He is good. I was wrong. Sorry, dude. But bottom line being, if he's the sole focus, when it comes to running game. I'm not entirely sure if he can handle that. So the running game is going to obviously change with the absence of Rachaad White. And like you said as well, it's like this Saints defense, as it has been for the last 3 years, is nothing to mess around with. Like that's the whole reason Dennis Allen still has a job, is because this offense has been terrible, but this defense has been absolutely phenomenal. So, and we saw it with the Buccaneers. We saw it with the Broncos, where they really limited Baker Mayfield to just 8 points, that game, and not 8 points scoring, 8 fantasy points. So it really wouldn't shock me if we saw a down week for Baker again. I do worry about this offense's consistency. Mike Evans has been, putting up with some injuries. I know he's not up for designation. So if you have Mike Evans, start him. He's going to play. But at the same time, how much is that bothering him? So it's going to be interesting to watch, especially, and as you love to say, you can't predict divisional games. It's very, very tough to do so.
Very, very true. And yeah, just to clarify, the Saints defense has not allowed any quarterback to have more than 13 fantasy points all season. This includes their most recent game against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. So, I mean, yeah, that's how stifling the Saints defense has been this season. So, all right, Tad, we're sort of talking about Bucky Irving, Rachaad White being potentially doubtful. Maybe we'll see a lot more Bucky Irving in this game, but just let's get to that running back position. Do you have a start or sit for me here?
I got to sit for you. And before you guys think of like, oh, I'm smarter than my opponent, I'm going to start this guy. Don't do it. And that's Antonio Gibson.
Oh, yeah.
Because Rhamondre Stevenson has been confirmed. He is out for this game. There have even been rumors the past couple of weeks that he's going to get benched anyway because he can't keep the ball in his hands for more than 3 carries in a row. But I'm telling you, this is not only is this not the right team for him to start against, I'm not a big believer in that offense in general. And here's why: is because Drake May is having his first career start against the Houston Texans. First off, what the hell are you doing, Patriots? Like what? Why? Yeah. Why? This is like, I don't know. This is basically be like, we have a first-time soldier. All right, what's his first battle going to be? D-Day.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you expect that to end well? Because it's not. And it just, this is a Houston Texans defense. This is every bit as legitimate as we thought it would be. So you, you look at what, the Antonio or the Texans defense has done in the past year, I guess this year. They're ranked 9th against the run. They've only allowed 2 team running backs. Keep this in mind. This is like running back by committee, not even just running backs, to go over 15 points. That is multiple running backs go over 15 points collectively. That is a tough run defense to go against. And then we just frankly don't know how this offense is going to run with a Drake May under center. Are they going to run it a ton with him or with, Antonio Gibson? Maybe. Are they going to pass it a ton? See what they have in Drake May? Maybe. We have zero idea. Now, I think they're going to depend on Gibson a lot, given that their offensive coordinator has, Cleveland Brown ties, and those Browns love to run the ball. But at the same time, I think the defensive coordinator of the Texans is smart enough to know that, so they're going to game plan against the run. So either way, I just don't think that Antonio Gibson is going to be the kind of like the sneaky pickup that you think he is. If you want to go for a similar play, it just recently was announced today as of recording, Jonathan Taylor out another week. If Trey Sermon, because this is exactly what I did, is pick up Trey Sermon, because I think Trey Sermon against the Titans way better than Gibson against the Texans.
Not bad. Not bad. This is like, if you're like a Two-Face henchman or a Penguin henchman, it's like you get a new recruit and it's like, oh yeah, go fight Batman in a dark alley. Like, this is exactly what they're doing to Drake May. Like, this is not going to end very well, especially for this week. Maybe they just want to go through the growing pains and see what this guy has against a tough defense. But yeah, it was probably not the best decision.
It's like hiring a guy off the street as Penguin and being like, all right, you ready? He's like, yeah, I'm ready, coach. I got it, Mr. Penguin. I got it, Mr. Oswald. Yeah. He's just like, all right, great. Go guard Catwoman. Batman's girlfriend? Yeah, go guard her. Can I not? No, go. Go. That's exactly what this is.
Yeah. I mean, you name it. It's either Batman or Catwoman or, Dick Grayson, Nightwing, whatever it is. Just like, it's not going to be good at all for Drake May. But I do still have optimism for the guy. So it's like, I wanted to see what this guy can do. So yeah, maybe we'll see some glimmers of hope there. But yeah, to expect anything. So if you're considering picking this up, guys, like, oh, I'll fly under the radar, pick this guy up. You have a good week. No, don't do it.
No.
Do not fall for that trap, guys.
Trey Sermon's a better option.
I agree with that. So I'm going to go with the start at the running back position. You're talking about Trey Sermon. I'm actually talking about the team that they're going to be playing against this week.
Oh, you
I like to start here. Tennessee Titans. I'm going with Tony Pollard coming off a bye week to play your Indianapolis Colts. Tad, the Indianapolis Colts have allowed 25.4 fantasy points per game this season. This is 9th worst in the NFL. The Colts have allowed the 4th most rushing yards in the NFL as well. Now, I will add this into it. So it's like, why am I adding this stat here? But it's like, I think they can sort of buck the trend. So currently, Tennessee has the fewest rushing attempts in the NFL and the 4th fewest rushing yards. In Tennessee's only win this season, they've only had one win this season out of 4 weeks. They were just on a bye week here in week 5. Tony Pollard had over 20 rushing attempts. So I think that sort of speaks to the fact that's like, you give this guy the ball, you sort of control the clock, you run the ball pretty well, take a lot of the pressure off of Will Levis. I think this is the way the Tennessee Titans can sort of win the game. So I will say that win came against the Miami Dolphins, who are sort of been definitely struggling without Tua Tagovailoa under center there. But I think just sort of reinforcing the fact that just take the pressure off Will Levis, because, I mean, this guy is tied for the league lead in interceptions right now, Tad. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that viral Twitter thread where it's like every single week in the NFL,
time he does something wrong,
there's a meme of some sort, right? Where there's the first week where he's got the hands on his head against the Bears. I think it was against the Packers. There was 2 guys sandwiching him.
He ran for like 4th and 3 in some game or something like that.
Yeah, I think in that Dolphins game, even though he had the shoulder injury, they took him out and he was like making weird faces on the bench. And so it's like, yeah, this guy is just, he's been good at times, but just there's a lot of bad. And I think just this guy just can't limit his turnovers. I feel like that aggressiveness that Tad, we both talked about this during the draft process. That's like, he tries to play a lot of hero ball. And it's like, now you're seeing that in the NFL, which you predicted. If he does that in the NFL, he's not going to last long in the NFL as a starting quarterback. So I think Brian Callahan, he's hopefully, I mean, for the Titans' sake, he's a smart coach. For your sake, you hope that he sort of plays the same
I hope he busts absolutely terrible.
And makes Lil Les throw the ball here. But if Brian Callahan is smart, which, like I said, Titans fans are hoping here, he will lean on Tony Pollard and maybe a little bit of Tajay Spears as well, but they'll establish the run a little bit more. So even though the numbers don't favor the Titans to be a little run heavy, I think with this matchup with the Colts coming off a bye week, I think you paid a lot of money to Tony Pollard. I think they involve him a lot more in the rushing attack this week because of the good matchup, and this will lead to them possibly finding more success. So yeah, I like Tony Pollard to start this week.
Yeah, that's a good start. I hate you. But no, this is honestly kind of like, because I know you talked him up a lot about, a lot in the preseason, and I thought he was going to play a bigger role, but Tajay Spears has been like a non-factor in this offense.
Surprisingly.
And pretty much how it's worked out is Pollard has been, a 2-to-1 ball carrier, in terms of carries compared to Tajay Spears. So, no, he's good. And yeah, the Colts run defense is just, it's just non-existent. So it's just, it's fine. It's whatever. Yeah, they're gonna score against us, whatever. Can we move on?
We definitely can move on. So now let's get to the wide receiver position here. We are sort of talking about Mike Evans be a little bit questionable. Maybe he's not a good play this week, depending on how he is game time decision as we get closer to Sunday. But let's go with some starts or sits at the wide receiver position. What do you got? I
got a start for you. And man, what is the one stat I love most when it comes to receivers?
Volume or targets, I guess.
Targets. It's location. And if I had money, I'd make it rain, but I'm a teacher, so I don't. This dude's target rate is just absolutely bonkers. And I think you should start him solely because he's going to get targeted. And that is Darnell Mooney of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
What a trade. That might be the best trade of the NFL offseason. That guy has been a pillar of their offense going forward. Do you want to guess how many targets he had this past week?
This past week?
Just this week.
I'm going to say 15.
You are very close. 16 targets in a single game.
That is crazy.
That's ridiculous. That's insane. Over the last 3 weeks, he's had 30 targets. So he's averaging 10 targets a game. Guys, when it comes to fantasy, the more passes thrown your way, the better your chances to score. And he's scored over 10 points in all but one game this week. You look at, just the way this offense is going too, they're hitting their stride. They're fine. I'm trying to trade for Bijan Robinson so hard in all my leagues because I think that this offense has finally figured it out to the point where they're going to start clicking. Right, I have Drake London in my main league. He absolutely killed it with me with 27 points. Bottom line being is then you look at who they're playing this week. Do you remember who the Falcons are playing this week?
I believe it's Carolina.
It is Carolina. It is absolutely Carolina. And here's a crazy stat for you. Carolina has allowed the last 3 teams they've faced to pass for over 150 yards to the receivers. So I'm telling you, yes, Drake London may be good for a touchdown or 2, but Darnell Mooney is going to be the one racking up those yards. So especially if you're in a PPR league or a half PPR league, Darnell Mooney is a great, great start right now. And by the way, if you're a little, lacking for a receiver, maybe you're on a team your receivers have been suffering some injuries, he's a very good kind of at this time, quote unquote, lower name receiver to target in trades. Because I think his value is just going to keep going up. And, 2-3 weeks from now, that trade value is going to be a lot more than it is now. So if you're hurting for a receiver, now is the time to go for him. I'm a big Darnell Mooney fan.
No, I am too, because I remember I brought this up during our offseason episode that was just this is a player that's Kirk Cousins likes to involve his second and third options in the passing game because that's why I was such a believer in Jordan Addison last year with Minnesota. I was like, with Kirk Cousins, it's opposite Justin Jefferson. He's going to use him quite a bit in the offense. I remember you were sort of I don't know if he's going to be all that great, but I was like, Kirk Cousins likes to throw to the other guys, not just the main guy. The main guy is definitely going to feast for sure. That's why Justin Jefferson is still sensational, regardless of who's playing at the quarterback position there. But it's just Drake London was going to get a lot of targets, but I think the secondary guy was going to get a lot of targets as well. So unfortunately, Rondale Moore, he dealt with the IR injury. So we brought this up. That's Darnell Mooney is going to take that step up and he's going to become a big piece of this offense. And we're finally seeing it now. We saw that blow up game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week, but I think this, just like Tad said, this is going to continue. Darnell Mooney is still going to be a piece of this offense. I think we're definitely going to see him used quite a bit in this offense. And so, yeah, if you still have a guy that's wavering about whether to keep this guy or is still quote unquote low cost, this is a guy that I would highly suggest you go and acquire because, yeah, he could pay serious dividends as we get further along in the season. He could definitely be a key contributor for your fantasy roster. So, yeah, excellent start this week against a very weak opponent in the Carolina Panthers for sure. I'm sticking to the same game here as far as the running back that I brought up in Tony Pollard. So I'm going to the same game between the Colts and the Titans, but I'm going to sit. I'm going to sit at the wide receiver position, but unfortunately, Tad, it is with your Colts. It is Josh Downs, wide receiver. I'm saying sit him this week. So it's confirmed. No Michael Pittman Jr. for the next 4 weeks at least because Indianapolis has put him on the IR dealing with the back injury, so they won't see him for the next month at least.
I hate my life.
Since he came back though from week 3, Downs is already second in the team in targets, and I think he's going to be that next man up for the Indianapolis Colts. So you see that, you're like, all right, Michael Pittman's sitting. Maybe I'll go pick up Josh.
Don't do it.
Maybe, I'll start him off my bench, whatever it is. But just, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that Tad just said. It's don't fall for those traps because, yeah, Tennessee has a we talked about New Orleans having a very good pass defense. The Titans are right up there with them. I know they only played 4 weeks of the season, but they've been very, very tough. Also, don't fall into the trap that is Alec Pierce. Outside of those 2 60-yard touchdowns that he's had, it's been very low receptions, but I know he leads the team in receiving yards, but it's outside of that, it's that's the only reason why he's sort of leading the team in receiving yards right now. But he doesn't have the reception numbers, definitely doesn't have the target numbers either. It's going to be a lot of Josh Downs, but I'm still a believer. I'm still going to go on record and say I'm still a believer. But maybe not for this year still. I think it's still going to take some time. Anthony Richardson is confirmed to be playing in week 6. He is off the, he's not going to be, hampered by the hip injury. Maybe he'll be hampered by it still, but just regardless of what we've seen, outside of that week 1 performance, Ted, Anthony Richardson has just not been all that effective for this Colts offense this year. Joe Flacco was able to do a lot in this passing offense, and unfortunately, just we're not seeing with Anthony Richardson. Hopefully, maybe we'll see a turnaround and he'll be a little bit better, but just with that, it just sort of worries me a lot about Josh Downs' production in this offense and just going into week 6 against the Titans. Like I said, Titans defense is no joke when it comes to stopping opposing wide receivers. Tennessee has allowed only 3 receiving touchdowns all season long, and they have allowed the fewest passing yards in the NFL. No wide receiver this season, Tad, has scored over 11 fantasy points against this defense. And Tad, let me read off the list of receivers that have played against the Titans defense this far. DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, Jaden Reed, Tyreek Hill. None of them had over 11 fantasy points against this defense.
I mean, to be fair, those guys all have extenuating circumstances. Yeah, I mean,
I'll give you the Tyreek Hill one, but the other 3 still.
I mean, Jaden Reed.
Yeah, I still think though, as a premier receiver to
no, I mean, I'll be fair. I'll be fair. You know, I'll kick it back to you, but like that is surprising that they were able to do this well, because this is a bad Titans team and they are fighting hard, and that's kind of the scariest part of like, no, you're supposed to be bad, be bad. It's like poking this, like the meme of like poking the stick of like do something of like, no, be bad. Don't do that. Be bad. And they're not. And this is why I hate the Titans, because they always do shit like this where you're supposed to be bad, but they're not. But yeah, that's not great. I love it. And the thing is too, is you're still holding out hope that Anthony Richardson is, going to be good. Yeah, so am I, obviously, but my whole thing is we don't know which receiver is his favorite so far, especially with Michael Pittman out. Mm-hmm. And I do agree with you that Alec Pierce, to draw comparisons back to the early 2000 Saints, where it's looking like this offense is kind of functioning, he's the Lance Moore of this offense. 1 week, he'll have a 60-yard touchdown, and you're good. Or to, bring it to a New Orleans Saints comparison that's even more contemporary, he's a Rashid Rice, right? Where Rashid Shaheed, thank you, Rashid Rice.
The Saints wish they had Rashid Rice.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yes, no, they do. But Rashid Shaheed, where, yes, if he gets a 60-yard touchdown, he just paid off for you big time. Exactly. But if not, then no. And it's just, I don't, other than Jonathan Taylor, who, by the way, is out again. This Colts offense is just a mess. I hate it. I'm miserable. Go on.
I really didn't have much else to add there, but I think, just the biggest thing, I do like the fact that just like we don't know who Anthony Richardson is going to rely on without Michael Pittman Jr. Is it going to be Josh Downs? Is it going to be Alec Pierce? Because we obviously remember in that week 1, he had that amazing throw to Alec Pierce wide open.
Could A.D. Mitchell finally make it?
A.D. Mitchell, exactly. Maybe he's finally going to emerge and become that option in that passing offense. Maybe we're going to see some other random receiver like Ashton Doolin, come out of nowhere and become a problem.
Kylan Granson catches another touchdown.
Exactly. But just, I know the last point about the Titans defense, they did make a trade. Obviously, they acquired L'Jarius Sneed for the Kansas City Chiefs, and then they signed Chidobe Awuzie for the Cincinnati Bengals in the offseason. So they do have 2 very good starting quality quarters there. So that's part of the reason also as to why they've been able to limit a lot of production from opposing wide receivers this season. So Josh Downs, the combination with him and just a tough Titans defense, and Anthony Richardson, unfortunately, at quarterback right now. No go. Do not start Colts receivers this week, including Josh Downs. Now, we're sort of talking about Mo Alley Cox and Kylan Granson and just these random Colts tight ends here. Unfortunately, no Jelani Woods. He has not been going off for me, even though I had so much hope for him. But that seems like a pipe dream now at this point.
Told you.
Let's talk about the tight end position here, Tad, as far as fantasy purposes go. Do you have a start for me here this week?
I got a start for you. It's a touchdown or bust start. I'm just going to preface everything with that. But I think that Cole Kmet is a very interesting name to keep an eye on, because I think there's no better player as evidence for this than DeAndre Swift. Yeah. This Bears offense is finally coming together. They're finally, hitting their stride. So I think that Cole Kmet is going to be a key part of this. He, had a 15-point, depending on the format of your league, performance against my Indianapolis Colts, which really, really, really hurt. And I know since then he saw 3 targets the week after, 4 targets the week after that. I'm telling you, yeah, he's not going to see a lot of targets because this whole offense is so spread out, which makes him touchdown or bust. However, you look at what they're playing, or who they're playing, excuse me, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars have allowed at least 2 touchdowns to tight ends in the last 3 weeks. So this Jaguars defense, first off, they're just bad. Second off, they're particularly bad against tight ends. So I think that with Caleb Williams kind of coming in his own, and you can also tell just from the play calling, they're passing him more with Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that if you're looking to bench a legitimate starting tight end and be like, oh, Cole Kmet's the better option, don't do that. I'm not saying do that, but what I'm saying is if you have a tight end on a bye week and you're like, I don't know what to do here, Kmet's not a bad option because the Jaguars defense clearly cannot defend tight ends, and Caleb Williams was a young quarterback's safety blanket.
Tight end position.
Tight end position, baby. So just pass it to Cole Kmet. I think in London, Cole Kmet is good for at least 1 touchdown.
But yeah, especially for all of you Travis Kelce managers who have him on a bye this week, then yeah, Cole Kmet is a pretty good option for sure.
Perfect example.
But Tad, you're sort of bringing up like don't sit a starting caliber tight end for Cole Kmet. I'm going to give you a starting tight end that I would personally this week sit maybe in favor of Cole Kmet, and that is Dalton Kincaid versus the New York Jets this week. I remember we brought this up before, I think it was a couple weeks ago, where Josh Allen sort of brought up the comment, I think at a press conference or a media session, where he was like, oh yeah, it's nice to be in an offense where you don't have one player sort of demanding the ball all the time and sort of just spread it out to whoever it is. Well, that is literally what has been happening through 5 weeks of the season for this Buffalo Bills offense. Because, I mean, the past 2 seasons, the Bills have sort of skewed more towards passing, but we're seeing a lot more of a balanced rushing attack as well. Double digits for 6 different receivers when it comes to targets in this Bills offense right now. So, I mean, we're seeing the ball, like I said, spread out quite a bit in this passing offense. Now, I will say Dalton Kincaid is the leader of the pack with 24 targets, but he's only 3rd on the team in receiving yards, and he's only scored 1 receiving touchdown through 5 weeks of the season right now. My pick of being the tight end number 1 when I made that prediction at the beginning of the season, that is not looking all that great right now because, yeah, Josh Allen and the Bills offense is sort of spraying the ball to whoever's open. They're not really concerned with getting it to one guy and one guy only. I really thought that Dalton Kincaid would be that guy, but just, yeah, it's being spread across the whole area of the offense there. Kincaid has only scored 1 double-digit fantasy performance this season, and that was the game that he scored a touchdown in as well. But I think the biggest thing, sort of the cherry on top of the Sunday as to why I'm saying sit Dalton Kincaid this week against the New York Jets, the New York Jets are a very tough team when it comes to stopping passing attacks because they have only allowed 1 team to score over 8 fantasy points, and that was George Kittle in week 1 in the San Francisco 49ers game with the New York Jets there. So, I mean, they're very strong against stopping the defense, stopping opposing tight ends, because they have a strong defense. We obviously heard about the news about them firing Robert Saleh, but Jeff Ulbrich, their interim coordinator or interim head coach now, he was their defensive coordinator. So I expect this defense to sort of keep the same level of intensity. I really don't know what's going to happen with the offense. They obviously made a change there. Nathaniel Hackett's no longer going to be calling plays. He's no longer the offensive coordinator. It's now going to be Todd Downing. So that should be maybe a little bit of a change there. But just overall, I don't anticipate this game being very favorable for Dalton Kincaid and the Buffalo Bills offense. I think it'll be very low scoring on both fronts because I just don't know what to expect from the Jets offense. And I think the Jets defense will be able to stifle the Bills offense. So yeah, Dalton Kincaid, even though he was probably a lot of people's pick to be a top 5 fantasy tight end, probably drafted that way as well. Based on the way that he's been played through 5 weeks of the season, Tad, and with a tough matchup here in week 6 against the Jets, I'm saying sit him.
So I'm not saying that he's been a bad tight end so far this season. He's definitely disappointed. So you are 100% correct there as a manager of his. He's definitely disappointed. But anyway,
I'm a manager of his too. Believe me,
it's so painful. But anyway,
tough. It's very tough.
I actually disagree with you where I think that you're giving this Jets defense a little too much credit of like this organization is in absolute turmoil right now.
Sure.
So I'm not entirely sure how the Jets are going to respond to everything that happened this week. And trust me, we are about to get into this. But point being is like, he's not bad sit. It's just if you're in an emergency situation like I am, where it's like, we were talking before the episode, I'm like, well, I either start Kincaid or I start Njoku. And Amber just kind of shrugged at me. It's just like, yeah, man, I don't know. It's just like, yeah, if you're in between a rock and a hard place, I trust Kincaid more than Njoku.
That's
so
fair.
like Kincaid's not a bad option because he is getting that volume. He is getting a lot of targets. It's just he's not doing much with it. And I gotta give credit where it's due with Bill's offensive coordinator Joe Brady. He's being creative this year. This Bills offense is much better than I think everybody was really expecting it to. The only unfortunate part of that is, Dalton Kincaid, a much less significant part of this than we thought.
Exactly. And one other note about that Bills-Jets game, James Cook has been questionable through practice throughout this week. So all you James Cook managers, be aware, potentially he may not be able to play in week 6 on Monday Night Football. But all of you guys who need a sort of emergency running back, maybe keep an eye on Ray Davis. I think he could possibly go off against the Jets there on Monday night.
Let's go. I would love that. That'd be awesome.
I would love Ray Davis to go off.
So
we're both huge fans of it during the process. All right, Ted, let's get to our defenses and kickers. Do you have starts or sits for me at either position?
No, this one's easy. Sit the Jets defense, sit Greg's O-line.
Okay.
I don't trust anything going. What the hell is going on with the Jets right now?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess for sure.
It's Donald Glover. It's Donald Glover walking in the apartment with the the entire thing's on fire.
Community,
He doesn't know what's happening. It's just, my God. Did any of us have Robert Saleh on our as our pick for first coach fired?
No,
I don't think we did because Woody Johnson. Relax, dude. You're fine.
If you remember correctly, Tad, during our offseason prediction show, I actually had the Jets getting over 11.5 wins, and I had Robert Saleh as potential head coach of the year candidate. And so, that's actually not going to happen at all now.
I think, it makes you feel better. I think my pick was Kevin McConnell, who looks like O'Connell. Yeah, it looks like he's going to be coach of the year. So there you go. So
I will say my pick of Doug Peterson has sort of been panning out for me.
That one's been paid. I think they're going to write out the year, but you're right. He's probably going to be the first off-season fire.
Yeah.
But bottom line being, the Jets, nothing new to anyone, are a fucking dumpster fire. Yeah. So in terms of fantasy, I don't know what to expect from this defense. You were kind of talking like, I expect them to play with the same grit, the same determination. Are they?
I say the only reason I say that's because I feel like they're going to have to carry this offense. Because like I said, I have a lot more questions about the offense though compared to the defense. So it's like very much to what we saw last year, where it's like the offense had its issues without Aaron Rodgers, but the defense was able to hold their own. It's like I think the defense will still be able to hold their sort of keep things together, glued together, taped together with bubble gum and all that stuff, right? Like they'll be able to hold their end of the deal. The offense is what really worries me as far as like, what's that going to look like? So, so at least for 1 week, I'm riding with the Jets defense, but
I'm not.
Long-term, I can understand a little bit more skepticism.
I'm not, and for this reason is the Buffalo Bills have allowed, and this is a true stat, 3 of their last 5 opponents to score 1 or less points when it comes to fantasy defense. I said that correctly. 1 or less points. They've allowed 1 to score 1 point, 1 to score 0 points, 1 to score -1 points.
Wow.
I don't trust that. Like, this is a defense with the coaching change facing a very dangerous offense. And I don't trust this Jets defense. I also don't trust Greg Zuerlein. He has yet to score over 10 points all season. He has yet to, how about that? This is a stat that shocked me. He's yet to hit, Greg the Leg has yet to hit a single field goal over 50 yards this season.
It's an older leg now. It's not the same.
It's not. It's like the Megatron that gets evolved by, what's his name? Galvatron. The old 80s Transformers movie. You never watched that? No. You got the power. Nothing.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but I do not remember this at all.
Yeah. All right, Chauncey, message us when you see this part. But point being is, I just like, Greg is washed, and it's hard to me to trust any of the Jets. And I know you pointed out Garrett Wilson as like, hey, they held him to nothing. Garrett Wilson has been doing shit all year. So like, it's very hard for me to trust any Jet going forward until I can see some change with this team.
It's actually funny that you bring up Garrett Wilson. So I remember when you were talking about Darnell Mooney and how like dependable he is in that offense. how much you could trust him because he had 16 targets in that game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You want to guess how many targets Garrett Wilson had in that London game against the Minnesota Vikings?
2.
Higher than what you said for Darnell Mooney.
What? He only connected. I was looking up these stats. He only connected on like 6 of them? 3?
He had 23 targets in that game.
2 for 23.
He had 101 yards and he scored a touchdown in that game. So that's the only reason he sort of got salvaged as far as having a fancy day. Because I agree with you. Just like that connection. Because I remember you texted this to me like back in like week 2, where it's just like that connection between Rodgers and Wilson is just it doesn't.
And you can tell it when you look at like between like when Rodgers hits Lazard, you can tell like oh okay, like he knows where Rodgers is gonna throw it, and Wilson's like, wait, you want me to stop like 5 yards back there? Oh, I didn't. Sorry, I didn't know that. My bad.
Yeah. But I saw that number and I was like, man, that's the reason why Wilson had a good day. He had 23 targets in that game against the Minnesota Vikings last week. So, I mean, that's part of the reason why he had a good game. So, I agree with you with Greg Zuerlein. Like I said, just with the question marks on the offensive side of the ball, I don't know how much they're going to be able to move down the field. And so, that will definitely limit what Greg Zuerlein could do. And then, like you said, if he's never even attempted a 50-yard field goal this year, so it's like they can't even like stop.
He has attempted one. He just missed it.
Oh, he missed it. Okay, excuse me. But it's like still to only attempt one. It's like that sort of speaks to the fact that just like, okay, they can't even get like within 50 yards of a potential field goal. It's like they need to get within that to potentially trust Greg Zuerlein. But like I said, I have a lot more pessimism for this offense compared to the defense. So I definitely agree with that. Greg Zuerlein sit there. So we got to sit there, defense, sit there, kicker. I'm going to give you a starting positions here. So the first one I'm going to give you is maybe a little bit of surprise, but I love the matchup. This is purely a matchup-based start. The Philadelphia Eagles versus the Cleveland Browns.
No! Oh.
Yeah. Versus the Cleveland Browns. So,
Chad. Against Browns? Is Deshaun Watson still healthy?
This is, that's the biggest thing. He is healthy. That is exactly why I like this matchup.
Carry on.
So, Chad, through 5 weeks of the season, there are only 5 teams in the NFL that have failed to score 80 total points this season. Now, obviously, one of them is Cleveland. Do you think you can name any of the other 4?
I hate you. Okay.
I'll give you a hint. 2 of those teams were just on a bye.
Raiders?
Nope, not the Raiders.
Really? The Raiders have scored? Wait. What was the point total?
80.
Raiders have scored over 80 points.
Less than 80 points. Less than 80 points.
Other than
5 teams that have done it. So other than the Browns, obviously, because that's right there.
This might be a hot take. The Chargers?
The Chargers are on there. Like I said, they're a bye week team, so they've only scored 68 points.
Oh, man. When did you take these stats?
As of right now, I'm looking at these numbers right now.
Seattle?
Nope, Seattle is down there.
Damn it. Let's see. OC South. Oh, Panthers.
Nope. Panthers have
really?
They have 83 points. So they are on the fringe.
Oh, come on. That's
83 points.
That's fucking Giants.
But nope, not the Giants.
Oh, come on. Jesus Christ. I hate this NFL season so much.
I hate over-under. You hate this game. So.
I'm just going to go.
But the other teams are, so obviously the Browns, they have 79 points. The Titans, they are on a bye week, so they have 79 points, though, through 4 weeks. So that's still a little bit surprising. Chargers, you already said 68 through 4 weeks of action. The Patriots have 62 points through 5 weeks of action. But here's where I was going to bring this up because you said about the Dolphins. They are the lowest scoring team in the NFL right now with only 60 points. And this is after last season where they finished as the second highest scoring team.
That's not that surprising, though. Without like a quarterback, that offense has fell apart, the last 3 of the last 4 years? Damn it.
No, it's true. It's true. But this Cleveland offense has just been absolutely horrendous. Through 5 weeks of the season, Cleveland has not scored more than 20 points in any game this season. They've also never totaled more than 300 total yards on offense in either game this season through 5 weeks of NFL action here. So while the Eagles defense has not been all that strong through 5 weeks of NFL action here, they're coming off a bye week. I think just this is a really good dream matchup scenario to play against a very weak Cleveland offense, But this is the thing, though. If Cleveland, for some reason, cannot stop this Cleveland Browns offense, there are way big problems in Philadelphia right now. Because if you can't stop this Cleveland Browns offense, there are huge issues with Nick Sirianni and that Eagles coaching staff. Because, they really need to, look in the mirror and figure something out. Because, if you can't limit what Cleveland is doing right now and how horrendous they're being right now, That's really saying something. That is really saying something. So I would go pick up the Eagles in a spot start because the matchup is just too good to pass up.
I don't know if you know this off the top of your head or if you have this. What is the availability of the Eagles defense?
I can look it up right now.
Okay, because I'll filibuster for you.
Stall for us.
Yeah, exactly. Is because no, I completely agree with you that Sirianni is 100% on the hot seat. Honestly, because it's Philadelphia, he may be on the hotter seat than Doug Peterson, and that is saying something because both of them, that is a smoking hot seat. But I don't quite know if Cleveland has the ability to overcome it. So I'm kind of agreeing with you here is like, that's a very good start. I'm just not entirely sure how widely available that defense is.
Yeah, they are widely taken. So, I mean, in ESPN leagues, they're rostered in 75.3% of ESPN leagues. So, but like I said, this is more of a start as opposed to
25%. Well, that's also fair, but that 25% is actually bigger than I thought. So interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, if they're available in the league that you're in, this is a very sneaky good play. And if you play in DFS, like with DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever it is, they could be a very cheap option when it comes to DraftKings too. And guys, the last pick that I want to let here is the kicker. I'm going with, I sort of been hitting the same note. I'm sticking to this game, the Colts and the Titans game.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Start Nick Folk.
Come on.
So while I do like Tony Pollard as a start this week, I think Folk is an insurance option because in case Will Levis just can't limit his turnovers because we haven't seen him do it that this entire season. Brian Kellum maybe just wants to lean on him a little bit more. I think we may see Nick Folk possibly settle for some field goals in the situation. You also look at the fact that just on week 4, 2 weeks ago before their bye week, Nick Folk kicked 5 field goals in their victory against the Miami Dolphins. So I think Phil Folk should be in line for some field goals this week against the Indianapolis Colts in a divisional matchup. So yeah, go pick up Folk. I think he's a very good start this week as well.
You're the worst.
I didn't stick to one game, unfortunately, but just, the matchup sort of played in my favor there for that one game there. And guys, those are our week 6 starts and sits for sure here. But in case we didn't get to a start or sit that you wanted us to discuss, follow us on our social media handles. You got the ticker coming right down below. You got us on Twitter. You got me at @TheSide23, Tad at TadSide94. Got the show handle at The Decide Guys. And, of course, on Instagram at The Decide Guys as well. So hit us up with all of your waiver wire decisions, your start-sit decisions. Maybe you're starting to look at trades. Like, hit us up with your trade advice as far as what you need from us.
Someone say trade.
So, I mean, guys, we can't cover everything that we want to in a given episode. So this is where the social media sort of comes into play here. Hit us up with your questions because we want to help you win your fantasy football titles and come home with some fantasy football championships. Make sure you subscribe wherever it's to your podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please, guys, support our parent network at LAFB Network because without them, there would be no us. So make sure you're giving support to all the content producers there. We brought up a lot of the names before on the podcast. Lots of good friends of the show. Al Rowe, Ryan Dairu, Chauncey Talese, Will Decker, Jamal Modney, not Madney. So many
the madman.
The madman, the mod. No,
mod man. Yeah, the mod man.
But guys, so many great content producers producing lots of great content when it comes to the Rams and the Chargers at the professional football level and the Bruins and the Trojans when it comes to the college football level. So lots of great content coming from a lot of great content producers about all 4 LA football teams. And guys, to everybody who's already supporting them, who's supporting us by listening to the podcast, watching the YouTube videos, interacting with us on social media, sending us your questions. I mean, just anything and everything that you're doing to support the podcast. We really can't thank you enough.
And like Amir said, do not forget to send us personalized fantasy questions. I was just answering a question from good show friend Jason Davis today. He was like, really, you're going to start George Pickens with all this like diva stuff going on? I'm like, man, they don't care about that. Once the game starts, he's going to get his passes. So trust me, whatever situation comes across, we will help you set the best lineup possible. So be sure to send us any questions you got leading up to Sunday morning. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And please stay safe, everyone.